Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So this is the last part of the conversation of the three-parters. So the first part we talked about why did I leave Ivy. We talked about a lot of things there. Then we talked. The second part is a much longer part, around 45 minutes. So yeah, you can just listen to it rather than watch it. This is going to be the part where we talked about Gaza, Palestine, and we talked about. I ranted about how companies are using that, how some companies are using that in order to prove that they are a better place to work. Now, finally, going back from a much darker thing to now a rather lighter part is, how do I answer the question, why did I leave? Because I've seen different people answering that question, from being brutally honest about a place being toxic to like saying like in Arabic we say ما حصلش نصيب, which means that there was like it just like minor problems going on. So when people say that sentence as HR, I'm like sitting there and go like, okay, this is a red flag. Because it is a red flag. Why is it a red flag? Because either there is a major problem with the company or a major problem with the employee. Now, why do people not want to say the honest truth about a company that they worked in, especially if it's a horrible company? Because it reflects on you. If you're seen by HR as a person that complains a lot, and that is negative, then it negatively affects you, and you don't get accepted as fast, even if you're good, because you're going to be a troublemaker. You're going to be somebody who's going to talk about the bad things that he sees in our company, or the bad things that he or she sees with us. So how do I answer that question? Because definitely the reason you left is either one of two reasons: you quit or you got terminated. There's a multitude of reasons you might get terminated, whether they are for disciplinary reasons or non-disciplinary reasons, or or like what's going on with Gaza, where if you're a pro-Palestinian, just a pro person, I call it a pro-human. If you're pro-human, you're fired from your job for being for thinking and being with a terrorist. So, and you would, for a very good reason, be scared of saying that to like a different company that you're working for, that the reason you got fired was because you're pretty much you were pro-Palestine or pro, like I said, okay, pro-ceasefire, let's put it that way. So you're pro-ceasefire. Okay, you were an activist in your thing. You were against injustice. So having said all of that, you pretty much are in a hot tub. You're like in a hot situation. You don't know how to answer that. Or you quit. If you quit, there are multitude of reasons why a person could quit, from like personal reasons like taking care of your family, to like reasons of, this is the most horrible place I ever worked in and I'd rather never work it there. So brings back us to the question of, well, how do I answer that question? How do I answer why did you leave? I used to answer ما حصلش نصيب. That's the answer that I used to give until I put myself in the HR's position. I was like, oh, this is bad. This like gives like red flags all over. And I don't want to say anything bad about the place that I worked in, whether that place is good or bad. I don't want to say anything bad about it, because that's definitely why you left, because there's something bad that happened. But you don't want to say that, because then it, like I said, it reflects on you as a person that you're a troublemaker. So how do I answer that question? And the answer I came up with, and that's actually been working with me currently, is you deflect that question. You literally deflect that question. You're just like, so why did you leave this place? Well, after achieving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and after doing this one, I decided that I'm done growing and it's time to look for another opportunity. And it sounds very horrible when you say that. But at the same time, out of all the answers, this is actually one of the ones that people go like, it gives you the follow-up question, oh, so are you going to do that here? They're like, well, I'm looking forward, here's my action plan, and this is where the next part it comes in with the action plan. So here's my action plan, this is what I think, after researching your company and researching your thing, this is my action plan, here's what I think we will be doing, if you accept me to this position, blah 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 blah, yada 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 yada, and just switch it up all the time, switch it. Now, if you are pushed to give a true answer, then just be honest. If it's because something sucked in that area, yes, just be honest, be like, hey, you know what, it didn't work out, we had differences. Just try not to be overly negative. Even like I said, like the only place I talk about that is talk about with the negativity, I also talk about how it shaped me to who I am now. Like I don't make it hidden that I absolutely hate Disney. I hate Disney's culture inside. It is a very toxic one. To get the magical things for you as a person, to reach the point where you always have to smile, you cannot be sick, you cannot be sad, you cannot be miserable, doesn't matter what happens, you gotta be like positive, and you gotta be presentable, and you have to like sell, which actually made me hate selling. Disney made me hate selling. One of the companies that around 3 companies made me hate selling, but Disney was like on the top because you had to upsell. They were huge on upselling, and I hated it. I hated the idea of upselling. I hated the idea of utilizing kids for selling points, because kids are grabby and they like to grab things and they throw tantrums, and grown-ups, due to embarrassment, do not want to deal with tantrums. I discovered that part, the latter part. I discovered it when I finally like ended up like working, having kids of my own. Oh, you get embarrassed when those kids throw a tantrum like in public. But I've learned quickly how to like de-escalate the position and just like walk it off. I literally just walk off. I'm like, you know what? Bye. And the kid will like look at you and they'll start like sniffling and crying and I'm sorry, and they're like, but I want this, and you're like, you're not getting it. I'm walking off right now. You want to come over behind me? Yeah, good for you. You don't want to come off behind me? Good for you too. Not that I care. It's not that you don't care, it's you do care, but you know very well what's going to happen. You've learned your lesson, what's going to happen, and this is what I appreciate about Disney, is it made me realize very fast what not to do as a parent. I appreciate that from them. And the other thing that I appreciate from them is it made me understand what a toxic environment is way beforehand, and made me understand how to like spot the red flags, so that in my training, like when I do my training, I use a lot of like the stuff that happened in Disney as just this is what you need to look for, and if you see any of these things, you need to run, because you're in for a very toxic like environment. You're in for like whatever you're gonna get in salary, you're gonna spend in therapy. And this is the answer for like I said, this is the only time you're like, you have to be like blunt honest, and like as you've seen, they're horrible like company, but boy did I learn a lot. And you have to return back to that. Even if it's horrible, you need to understand, why is it horrible? Because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you learn something from it? Yes, I did. So it's good that you've learned something from it. Even if it's the price of it, the price of Disney is, it was a nightmare, because they like the place I worked in, I worked for like the merchanting, and and the merchantining, which is the like stores and things like that. Oh, they were encouraging people to sabotage each other and to just like step on others, and that was not my personality. I'm more of a like, let's go up together and let's rise up together and concentrate on the weakest link, because I believe that the team is as strong as its weakest link. So you concentrate on the weakest link. Yeah, that's so finally, then when I do talk about like what, like I got recently asked a question of why do you leave Ivy? Well, one, it did not work out. Two, and the other reason why I left Ivy is just I grew as much as I could. I grew up, and plus I live about 45 minutes away from Ivy. Well, it's 30 minutes if the road is good and it's not as crowded as you're currently seeing. But if it's as crowded as this one, we're looking at around from 45 minutes to like an hour every single day. And Fridays are off. Like, you came in on Saturdays as well, so it grew a little bit tired. I grew tired from that. I couldn't do it. And the final reason was just my kids. I had a conversation with my daughter where she literally, when she goes like, you do nothing but work the entire time, and she started complaining about how much work I did and how much I wasn't going to her training, because anything that I did, anything that I worked in, anything that I have done, all of that is just, I didn't do anything like that. I didn't work anything like that. And just how it is. That's just how it is. It's not the right thing to do. It's not the best thing to do. And I finally I left. I gave my notice period and I left. If Ivy was closer to my house, would I have left? No, I would not have left. If it was closer to my house, if it was within like 5 to 10 minutes from my house, I would not have left. I would have stayed the way I am, and I would have just continued just staying the way I am. Yeah. And that's the reason why I left Ivy. Are there problems in any company? Yes, there are. Are there problems in any institution? Yes, there are. But they're okay. Compared to like some of the toxic areas I've worked in, nothing in toxicity, nothing beats Disney. Nothing beats the Walt of Disney and the Walt Disney Company. Nobody beats them when it comes to toxicity, and they will genuinely cause you PTSD. That just if you're not a manipulative a-hole, you cannot survive there. You can only survive with Des. Des was awesome. She was one of the older employees that were in there, and she was like the mother figure for us. So we would used to just like go to Des and just like bitch to Des all the time. We're like, hey, and she would be like, what happened? Or just be like, well, this happened. She would just like kind of work us through this one. I've learned a lot from this. And I appreciate this. But then, if it wasn't for Disney, and this is the last thing I wanted to say about Disney. If it wasn't for Disney, I would not have gone to Dubai World. And if it wasn't for any of the misery that goes on in life, if it wasn't for that misery, you wouldn't appreciate it. There's a lot of things you appreciate afterwards in life. And I wanted to close this one on that you appreciate life. You appreciate life even if things go bad, even if things are horrible, even if you're in the midst of a genocide and in the midst of a massacre and in the midst of everything that's going on. Despite all of that, despite seeing that and the heart-wrenching and the pain and the suffering and all of that, despite all of that, you go a little bit more and you appreciate life more. Not only that, for us Muslims, we appreciate our religion much more now because of what's going on, because of the unyielding faith that's going on. And because of that, the answer for like, why did I leave? Well, it didn't work out. And I have faith that Allah has a much bigger plan on there. And you just do what you gotta do. You stretch what you gotta do. You have to do what you gotta do. And in the end, everything is gonna be fine. Everything is gonna be fine. Even in death, everything is gonna be fine. So anyways, that's just been my 3 parts. I'll see you later on, and we'll try to talk about something much lighter later, okay? So anyways, bye bye.